In the shadows of history, one kingdom rose from the ashes of chaos and ultimately crumbled in ruin. This is the story of the Vandal Kingdom, its rise to power, its reign of terror, and its tragic fall. But how did a once obscure people from the fringes of Germania rise to challenge the mighty Roman Empire? What drove them to sack the eternal city itself? And why did their kingdom collapse so quickly after reaching its zenith? In this video, we'll track the Vandals from their origins in Northern Europe to their conquest of Carthage and their notorious sack of Rome. We'll explore how they ruled the Mediterranean and what led to their rapid downfall, uncovering the truth behind their lasting legacy. With 20 years of teaching experience and a passion for studying history, I'd love to continue the conversation. Join me on my Facebook group, linked below, to meet me in person and for more talk on the European Middle Ages. The story of the Vandals begins long before their rise to power in North Africa. Their origins lie far to the north, in the dark forests and rugged landscapes of what is now southern Poland, where they settled in Silesia from around 120 BC. They are associated with so-called Przeworsk culture. The earliest known reference to the Vandals comes from the Roman savant Pliny the Elder. In his Natural History, Pliny wrote of a people he called the Vandalii, grouping them with other Germanic tribes such as the Burgundians and the Goths. Yet even Pliny, with his vast knowledge, could not have foreseen the path this mysterious tribe would take. The Vandals were part of a larger group of East Germanic peoples, likely associated with the Lugi, another powerful tribe mentioned by Roman historians. They were originally settled between the Oder and Vistula rivers in what is now modern-day Poland. But like so many other groups in this tumultuous period, the Vandals were on the move, driven by a complex web of pressures, including conflict with neighboring tribes and the encroaching threat of the Huns from the east. In the 2nd century BC, the Vandals began migrating southward, expanding their influence into Dacia and Pannonia. By the time of the Roman Empire, they were well established along the Danube frontier. However, their fortunes changed dramatically in the early 5th century, when they became swept up in the great migrations that would reshape the face of Europe. In 406 AD, during one of the harshest winters on record, the Vandals, along with the Alans and the Suebi, crossed the frozen Rhine River into Roman Gaul. The Roman Empire, already crumbling under internal strife and external threats, was unable to stop the wave of devastation that followed. For years, the Vandals moved across Gaul, plundering towns and cities, leaving devastation in their wake. Feared by many, admired by a few for their tenacity and ambition, the Vandals proved to be more than just raiders. They were searching for a home, and they would not rest until they found one. Their journey would eventually lead them to the Iberian Peninsula, where they settled for a time. But conflict with the Visigoths, who were operating under Roman orders, forced the Vandals to seek new opportunities elsewhere. And so, under the leadership of their most famous king, Genseric, they set their sights on North Africa. In 429 AD, the Vandals crossed the Strait of Gibraltar and began their invasion of Roman North Africa. It is said that the Roman military commander Bonifacius, embroiled in a power struggle with the empire, may have even invited the Vandals to assist him. If that was indeed the case, Bonifacius severely underestimated his new allies. Genseric, a cunning and ruthless leader, quickly seized control of much of North Africa, including the vital city of Carthage in 439 AD. With the capture of this crucial trading hub, the Vandals transformed from a nomadic tribe into rulers of one of the most fertile and wealthy regions of the ancient world. Though the Vandals are often remembered as destroyers, the truth is far more complex. Their kingdom in North Africa was a melting pot of cultures, reflecting the influences of the many peoples they had encountered on their journey: Romans, Berbers, Alans, and even Visigoths. The Vandals adopted many elements of Roman culture, including their language. Latin remained the official language of the Vandal administration, and many Roman customs were maintained. Yet, the Vandals also brought their own distinct identity to the region. They were followers of Arian Christianity, a branch of Christianity that was considered heretical by the Roman Catholic Church. This religious difference would prove to be a source of tension in the kingdom, as the predominantly Catholic Roman population often found itself at odds with their Vandal rulers. However, the Vandals were not simply invaders imposing their will on the people. Under Genseric, they managed to create a stable, functioning state, albeit one that was constantly at odds with the rest of the Roman world. The Vandals also adopted naval warfare as a central part of their strategy. With Carthage as their base, they launched devastating raids across the Mediterranean, targeting the coasts of Italy, Spain, and even Greece. Their most infamous act came in 455 AD, when they sacked the city of Rome itself. The world was shocked, not just by the attack, but by the methodical and relatively bloodless nature of the sack. Unlike the Visigoths, who had ravaged the city 45 years earlier, the Vandals were careful to preserve much of Rome's wealth, though they did carry off countless treasures and captives. Among the leaders of the Vandals, one name stands above the rest: Genseric, also known as Gaiseric. In the pantheon of barbarian kings who threatened Rome, Genseric stands as one of the most brilliant and cunning. His rise to power marked the beginning of the Vandal Kingdom's golden age. Genseric was not born to be king. He was the illegitimate son of the Vandal king Gunderic, but fate had other plans for him. When Gunderic died in 428 AD, Genseric took the throne, and the course of Vandal history shifted forever. Under his reign, the Vandals transformed from a wandering people into a feared kingdom. Genseric was more than just a king. He was a strategist. He knew that for the Vandals to survive, they couldn't stay in Iberia, where they were vulnerable to Roman and Visigothic forces. He set his sights on North Africa, a region that, if conquered, would provide the Vandals with a fertile land, rich in resources and a foothold in the Mediterranean. In 429 AD, Genseric led his people across the Strait of Gibraltar into Roman North Africa. With him, he brought an army of 15,000 to 20,000 men, battle-hardened warriors ready to stake their claim in a new land. The Roman Empire, distracted by internal strife, was unprepared for what was to come. The conquest of North Africa was swift and brutal. The Vandals moved from town to town, city to city, leaving devastation in their wake. Genseric's most significant victory came in 439 AD with the capture of Carthage, the crown jewel of Roman North Africa. Carthage was the second largest city in the Western Roman Empire, and its loss was a blow from which the Romans would never fully recover. But how did Genseric manage to take such a critical city with relatively little resistance? The answer lies in the timing and Genseric's cunning. The Roman Empire was fighting on multiple fronts, and its resources were stretched thin. Genseric seized the opportunity, launching a surprise attack while most of the city's defenders were at the circus, watching races in the hippodrome. By the time they realized what had happened, it was too late. Carthage had fallen. This victory didn't just give the Vandals a city, it gave them a base from which to launch further campaigns. With Carthage under their control, the Vandals now dominated the Western Mediterranean. From their new capital, they built a powerful fleet that would become the scourge of the seas. The Mediterranean, once known as the Roman Lake, became for a time the Vandal Sea. Genseric's ambitions did not stop with North Africa. He set his sights on Rome itself. In 455 AD, he launched what would become one of the most infamous raids in history, the sack of Rome. While many remember the Visigoths for sacking the city in 410 AD, it was the Vandals' raid that left the most lasting impression. Genseric's forces entered the city and systematically looted it for 14 days. They stripped Rome of its treasures, its art, and its dignity. Yet, unlike many other barbarian invasions, the Vandals avoided unnecessary bloodshed. Genseric's goal was not to destroy, but to take what Rome could no longer protect. At its height, the Vandal Kingdom appeared strong, controlling North Africa's wealthiest provinces and striking fear across the Mediterranean with their formidable navy. But beneath the surface, cracks began to form. Several key factors contributed to the gradual weakening of the Vandal Kingdom, leading to its eventual downfall. First and foremost was internal instability. After the death of their most powerful king, Genseric, in 477 AD, the kingdom began to unravel. Genseric's iron rule had held the Vandal state together, but his successors lacked his strategic genius and firm grip on power. The law of succession Genseric had implemented, where the eldest male of the royal family inherited the throne, prevented fragmentation but created fierce rivalries within the Vandal nobility. These power struggles often spilled over into court politics, eroding the strength of the monarchy. Religious tension also contributed significantly to the kingdom's fragility. The Vandals were staunch Arian Christians, a branch of Christianity that Roman Catholics considered heretical. Their persecution of Catholic subjects deepened the divide between the Vandal rulers and the local Roman population, creating resentment and unrest. Many of the Catholic inhabitants of North Africa viewed the Vandals as oppressive overlords, making it difficult for the Vandal kings to maintain a loyal and cohesive society. The refusal to reconcile with the Catholic majority left the kingdom vulnerable to internal dissent and external manipulation. But the most significant factor that led to the Vandals' downfall was the external threat from the Byzantine Empire. While the Western Roman Empire had crumbled, the Eastern Roman Empire, centered in Constantinople, was growing stronger under the leadership of Emperor Justinian I. Justinian harbored grand ambitions of restoring the Roman Empire to its former glory, and reclaiming North Africa was one of his primary objectives. For the Vandals, this would prove to be the final blow. The end of the Vandal Kingdom was swift and dramatic, marked by a series of critical events that sealed their fate. In 533 AD, Emperor Justinian I launched the Vandalic War, an aggressive campaign to retake North Africa. The Byzantine general Belisarius, known for his military brilliance, was tasked with the invasion. Belisarius carefully planned his assault, aware that the Vandals were weakened by internal strife and lacked the cohesion that had once made them formidable. At the time, Vandal King Gelimer, the last of the Vandal kings, was dealing with his own internal problems. A rebellion in Sardinia had drawn much of his military forces away from North Africa, leaving his kingdom vulnerable. Belisarius capitalized on this opportunity, landing his forces near Carthage without facing significant resistance. In September 533, Belisarius won a decisive victory at the Battle of Ad Decimum, just outside Carthage. The Vandals initially had the upper hand, but the sudden death of Gelimer's brother in battle threw the Vandal forces into disarray. Gelimer, overwhelmed by grief and panic, fled the battlefield, leaving his army leaderless and vulnerable. With Carthage now wide open, Belisarius entered the city without a fight. It was the beginning of the end. A few months later, in December 533, the Byzantines and Vandals clashed again at the Battle of Tricamarum. This time, the Vandals were soundly defeated. Gelimer's forces, already demoralized, could not withstand the Byzantine onslaught. Gelimer fled into the mountains, and by 534, he surrendered to Belisarius, bringing an end to the Vandal Kingdom. In a matter of months, the kingdom that had ruled over North Africa for nearly a century was no more. The Vandals' dream of an empire in the Mediterranean had come to a swift and bitter end. The fall of the Vandal Kingdom was the result of a perfect storm: internal divisions, religious strife, and the relentless pressure of a resurgent Byzantine empire. But while their kingdom may have crumbled, their legacy endures. The Vandals' story is one of both triumph and tragedy, of power won and lost. In the end, they were more than the Vandals of history. They were a people who carved out a place for themselves in a chaotic world, leaving a legacy that, for better or worse, continues to shape our understanding of the ancient world. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the Vandal Kingdom and want to explore more untold stories from history, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Don't miss out on future videos where we unravel the mysteries of the past together. Also, if you're passionate about discussing the European Middle Ages and want to continue the conversation, I'd love to see you in our Facebook group, where we have lively discussions and share insights about history. The link is in the description below. Come join the community and share your thoughts.